We are starting a new series titled as Craft Your Swabhava. I heartily welcome each of you to this series of episodes. Yat bhavam tat bhavati. A very famous saying, which means as we feel and think, we become, which kind of reinforces the powerful presence of our free will to determine our destiny. Of course, we talk about swabhava, which might sound like it's coming by birth. Yes, it is. Let's go a little deeper. We do get some aspects of our characteristics, orientations, which we call swabhava, by birth. Yes, the prarabdha karma, the vasanas, the gunas, they're all in action together to create certain basic orientations in us. But is that all? Do we live our whole life with that? Not really. Right? What happens is we go through the next layer of conditioning, which also becomes our second nature, which means we operate with the rest of the world as if it is our swabhava, right? We become very impulsive, we become very instinctive, and a whole lot of conditioning starts to happen, right? By our parents, by our society, by our school, by our country, by our religion, which we call as a second nature. But the very fact that our mind is malleable, our mind is open to such conditioning, give us a great indication that while the rest of the world conditions us, we also have the freedom to condition ourselves, which means the third layer, which is called the self-crafted nature. We can call it, for want of any better expression, the third nature. It's in our hands. In all possibility, if we reflect on life, much of our conditioning has been done by the external world, but we can take complete charge of our life and condition ourselves. And that is what is called crafting our swabhava. Does this mean I am negating the swabhava that we were born with? No, not at all. In fact, the whole advantage of that swabhava is it can give us a great power if we understand it first. And once we understand, we build on it, I think it can create a great synergy in terms of our success. There are a couple of scriptural references I would like to share with you, which describe the feasibility of the control we have on crafting our swabhava. Yoga Sutra, first chapter, talks about yogas chitta vritti nirodha, which actually means chitta vritti. Chitta vritti is the various modifications of the mind, the thought patterns that we have, which can come from our conditioning or it can come from our vasanas. That is what is called the various modifications of the mind, or in Sanskrit, chitta vritti. That chitta vritti can be nirodha. Nirodha is kind of stopping it, is kind of controlling it. It is possible by yoga. So yoga's chitta vritti nirodha is what our Yoga Sutras talks about, which gives a very clear indication of the feasibility of crafting our nature, the third nature, which can enhance and empower our success all through. The second reference I would like to talk to you is about Uddaret Atmanatmanam Natmanamava Sadhayet. Chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita speaks about Uddaret Atmanatmanam. If you look at the picture, you see a man standing on top of a hill. On a hill reflects a great height that we can reach. And on top of that, the man is also lifting his hand up and saying that, look, I want to reach further. and there is a whole lot of light which is supporting. Uddaret Atmanatmanam indicates we have to raise ourselves by our efforts. It's not about sitting complacent, regretting what we got at birth by our svabhava. No, we can rise ourselves to any height by the effort that we make. That's what Bhagavad Gita talks about, which is the second powerful indication that our swabhava can be crafted and we become our masters of our destiny. I think while the whole world has conditioned us mercilessly, and we become aware of it at this point in time, I am proposing that we take the chisel and the hammer in our own hands and start the chiseling process to say, these are my aspirations. These are my huge dreams. This is the purpose I would like to walk towards. And what I got by my swabhava at birth and what I've been conditioned is not good enough. Certain things are good enough, I'll retain, but certain things are not good enough, and I would like to drop it. And I would like to develop certain things as my swabhava going forward. I think it's important that we take control of our life at this point in time. That is the essence. In fact, the first episode is only setting the context. You will receive a series of concepts through various episodes in this series called Craft Your Swabhava. Right. The first one, I'm only setting the context to you. Let's take the chisel and the hammer in our own hands. We are not negating, as I said, our swabhava that we got out of birth. Let's embrace our swabhava, for within our unique nature lies the blueprint of our purpose. Each of us is unique. In fact, there is a beautiful verse in Mahabharata, where Duryodhana talks to Krishna, says, I know what is dharma, but I'm not able to follow it. I know what is adharma. I am not able to stop from doing it. Right? Help me. Now, it's a very clear indication that yes, there are certain things that has come to Duryodhana at birth, and he is unable to work on your swabhava further. Right? So we are trying to break that myth and say that, look, I want to take charge. Not to negate what we got at birth. We need to be completely aware, and we need to build a lot of reflection and self-awareness on what our swabhava is. Let's embrace our swabhava, for within our unique nature lies the blueprint of our purpose. When we align with our true self and then build on it, the world resonates with our authenticity. A very, very powerful thought I would like to share with you before we conclude this session. I think it's important that we start our journey from knowing to being. Right? We have picked up a lot of knowledge from various sources. Yes, we know a lot. But then, how do I move from mere knowledge to actually being that in an unconditional manner? Just as an impulsive behavior comes, which can be a negative behavior, can impulsive behavior also become a very positive behavior? For example, there is a big difference between knowing what is compassion and being compassionate. There's a big difference between knowing what is kindness and being actually kind. And that becomes our true nature as we craft it for ourselves. I think it's important that we take this journey from knowing to being. Right? The first step, as we all know, we are all products of the Panchabhutas. If you see in this image, you will see the Panchabhutas, right? And you will see a man standing and you will see his reflection. The very first sadhana that all of us need to engage in is to first reflect on what is our swabhava that we seem to have got, either by birth or by conditioning. What is it that I demonstrate as a root behavior, which is a reflection of my swabhava when I am unprovoked with most people under most situations? Of course, we are all different when we are provoked. We are all different with some special people in our lives. We are all different when special situations come. But let's ignore those special situations, special people, and the fact that we are provoked. When we are unprovoked with most people, with most situations, the behavior that we consistently demonstrate can help us show some light on what is the swabhava, what is the anchor from which that behavior is emanating, what is the anchor from which that pattern of behavior is emanating. The first sadhana after this episode is, let us reflect on our swabhava and write down. We may be right, we may be wrong. In fact, before the next episode, you would be guided on how to go about doing this. Until next time, stay curious. I would like to express my deep gratitude to my gurus, Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji and Puja Swami Paramarthananda ji. And I would like to conclude this episode. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Until next time, stay curious. Pranams.